Hi guys, Miss Trouts here. I'm excited about today's lesson. We're going to be doing digital media again, graphic design. We're using a free online graphic design program called sketchpad. This is an awesome program because you can use it on your phone, your tablet, your computer. My kids have Chromebooks, so you're able to get on sketchpad with your Chromebook. Super excited about it though because it's going to be a relaxing lesson. We're just going to use shapes. So we're going to talk and we're going to focus on like two of the tools, the selection tool and the shape tool. And why we're going to do that is so we can really focus on making art with just a couple tools, focus on them and what options we have with them. I'm super excited about seeing your artwork. If anyone would like to email me their artwork, just send it to studentwork@heathertrouts.com. All right, guys, let's do this. Here is Piet Mondrian. Piet Mondrian was a modern artist, okay? He was a Dutch painter, and he was influenced by artists like Vincent van Gogh, Paul Cézanne, Pablo Picasso. He was influenced by Cubism. So Cubism, when it was several areas of cubes that they would paint, and it was different areas of the environment that they would mix together. That was Cubism. This is just simple shape and squares. So he would use, obviously he's using primary colors, and that's exactly what we're going to use in our second piece. So we're going to move on, but I just wanted to give you a little history and look at some artwork so you have like a gist of what we're going to do. I'm excited to move into this lesson. If you want, Google Piet Mondrian for more of his work, but here's two perfect examples. This is in depth and we're zoomed in. Now, we have different grade levels. So those 8th graders that are working on this project, or if you're older and you're working on this project, add a little more shapes to differentiate for your project. The younger grades, we're gonna use just simple shape. You can add as many as you want, but this lesson can be differentiated in either way. So if you find yourself and you're getting bored with the amount of shapes that we're using, add more detail. So that you can see what we're headed towards, let's move on. Mondrian, who's a Dutch painter and does shape within a shape, and the brilliant colors that he uses, the primary colors. And now we can see in sketchpad, we have shape within a shape within a shape. So before I get down to the shapes and how to make them with the tools, I want to make sure everybody's on the right part. So I'm going to create a new window, and I'm in Google Chrome, and on the address bar, I'm going to type in sketchpad, not .com, just sketchpad. And as I do that, it comes up to sketchpad 5.1, sketchpad 4.0. And if you're having a problem with sketchpad 5.1, just use sketchpad 4.0 because it gives a lot of the same things. I know none of my students should be blocked now because our beautiful tech team unblocked sketchpad, which is super exciting. They work so hard for us. So here we are in sketchpad, and that's how you get there. All right. Now, I also need to show you, since I have artwork already up and you can see it, I want to press the plus sign where it says new. We had a red little tag that said new. Now, this dialog box pops up and it gives me the size. I'm going to let it be a square. That's what mine already is. You can see this is in pixels. These are different units. This is inch, millimeter, centimeter, pixels. I'm going to leave it at pixels. That's fine for me. And you can see my size right here. If you want to change yours to the same thing, just type in those sizes. It's 1034 by 1064. Now, the blank. I'm going to use a blank page. These grids, the graph paper, the lined, loose leaf notebook, blueprint, and transparent. Those are fine for later. In fact, it's pretty cool because we're doing shape within a shape. But for now, our first piece out of 3 is going to be a blank and create. Okay, so going back to the tools. Here I have all my tools. I have my calligraphy, star, which is our shape tool and we're going to use today, text tool, That's for a later date. And clip art, we're not using that today at all. And vector fill, that fills in an area of a shape. And that could go along with some of the things we're doing, but for our three, we're going to focus on the shape tool, and we're going to focus on the selection tool. So I'm going to click on that shape tool. And as you can see, I have options now. It says choose shape. Those are my options. Whatever I click up here, my options are below. We're going to use our color palettes. And this is a fill and outline. And as I use my shape, I don't need an outline for right now. So I'm clicking on that, clicking it off. And my fill color, I'm going to choose. I want to choose a flat color and blue. Now the other thing is we keep on getting that star popping up because we have star picked. We need a square to do this. So we go down to choose shape and we click square. So again, you have the star was, if your star is there, it might be a circle, it might be whatever you were using previously. You are changing that to the square. And you do it here where the options are. I have changed my color to blue, but you could be purple, yellow, whatever color you want to be. Okay, we're going to use just 2 colors right now to see our project. And I have my fill set, the opacity is at 100, and I have it blue. Okay, so now I'm going to go back up to that square, and I am going to show you, I'm going to make it so big that it covers the whole background. Now I'm going to take my selection tool, select that square, and move it down. It's my background now. I'm leaving this how it is. Now, I want to make another square. Click it. I want to change my color to a lighter blue so it can be seen. I'm going to draw that square on the page, and then I'm going to select it. And as you can see, these little anchor points pop up, and that lets me rotate. It lets me make things smaller. So by dragging that corner, I can make things smaller. So I'm going to flip it over, rotate it so it's aligned with this background square. I'm going to move it up. I'm on the selection tool now. I'm moving it up. So here I have, this is the perimeter of my square, the outline of my square, and we'll get into that later. But I'm moving the perimeter of this square to be even on all sides, so it still creates a square, but I want to fill the space a little bit more, and here it is. This is the beginnings of my artwork. So now I'm going to take my selection tool, again, I'm on selection, making sure that I'm unclicked on this square because I want a new one. I'm going to click on the square again, I'm going to change the color to that darker blue, there it is, and I'm going to create another square. That's cool how it creates this cutout. It's another lesson right there. So here I have the square. You can see I need to make it smaller. I drag the corner of the square. And this is a simple lesson so that you can get used to these tools and using them to what they can be used, the potential of these tools. So I am grabbing this corner and I am bringing it out and bringing it centered. I can also use my arrow keys on my keyboard, or if you're on your iPad, you can just click it over. So that can be done too, if that's easier. Sometimes I find it easier to use my keyboard. So my students who are using Chromebooks, and I'm so happy our school gave out some Chromebooks because we really needed them. So nice. Here we are. So we have a square within a square within a square. All right, and it's all even. Unlike Pete Mondrian's, his squares were, he might have a square here, a square here. We're doing something even just to start out with these tools. So I'm gonna make sure I'm off and I'm not on this square and it's not selected. I'm gonna go to the selection tool, ironically enough. Boom, shakalaka. I can make sure that I'm off that. I'm clicking on the square again. We're dragging it, and that's the wrong color. Miss Trouts has now made the wrong color. I can't see it. I can go right to my color right here, make it a lighter color, have that selected, make that a lighter color so I can see it. Now I can see it. So I can drag that square like so. All right, and my perimeter is matching up with the other perimeter of the other square. So I'm going to make this a little bit larger. Okay. So I'm going to keep working on this, and I'm going to speed this up until I get all the way down to here and I have my final artwork, because we're going to go over some things about the squares. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep on working, and then you try it out yourselves. Perfect. Here's our final artwork. It's not Pete Mondrian style where the squares are all over in different areas, but it's uniform and it's all goes all the way to the middle like this, almost like an optical illusion. So our next one we're going to mix it all up. And there's nothing wrong with using an old artwork, an old digital artwork, to create something new. So as long as you save this, and we're going to go over how to save right now again. So if you're trying to save your piece, your final piece, you are going to hit this button down here, right here, the export button. And it's down, follow my mouse over here, and I'll put a little window up to show you. Once I click that, I get a dialog box. That dialog box brings me to JPEG, PNG, PDF, and SVG. And you can save as sketchpad also. Some people can, some people can't. So right now I'm just gonna save as a JPEG because that's our universal format. So I hit JPEG and it saves right to your computer. My kids at Molina, they're gonna be using, they're going to save it right to their Google Drive. So that's how they would do that. So here's my project. It's saved. If I click on it, it opens up, and I would change the name to leave that JPEG, that extension. I put my name in there, and I'm going to put Miss Trouts. And I'm going to put digital shape 1. And that's going to go to my downloads. I'm going to put it to my desktop. But I'm on a Mac. You'll be on Chromebooks or whatever you're on. Save it where you know where you can get it. And that's it. So that's saved for me. Okay. Now I have this work, and I'm going to change it. And I thought about this, and I thought, you know what? Something my daughter's working on. She's in 4th grade, and I have a lot of 3rd and 4th graders. So I'm going to show you a few tips on your shapes. And the older kids, my 8th graders, if you're working on this and you're in high school, change it to your grade. You know, you could do a lot more shape within a shape within a shape. You could do alternating colors. You could create a rainbow. There's a lot you could do with this. So differentiate, meaning change it to your grade. Okay. So right now I'm going to use the selection tool, and I can click on any of these. And if I hold down the shift key, I should be able to click on multiple. If your computer's not letting you do that, that's okay. Then just do it separately. Mine didn't right now. Sometimes it's the online program. So now I still have the background. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about perimeter and area within a shape, because as a graphic designer, we have to size up things, and we have to know the perimeter and the area. So I have this blue background, okay? And you know what? I think I'm going to get rid of that too. I'm going to start fresh. I see some other things that, so you can also drag over an element to delete, as long as you're on that selection tool. You can drag over anything. I'm starting fresh. I just got rid of those squares. If I wanted to keep them to create a new artwork, I could. But for right now, I'm not going to. I'm going to have a fresh palette. Now, And the outside, I have made the outline, the perimeter. So I'm just going to pull my objects from here so you can see it with the digital program. So here we have the outline, and that's the perimeter of this square. So the square, this is the size of the square, and it's the perimeter, the outside. So we're going to talk about the inside. But on the outside, as you can see, all four sides are the same. And we are going to say this is 1 centimeter, this side. Okay, so if this side is 1 centimeter and this is the perimeter, let's get rid of that perimeter. Okay, now we're going to check out the area. So how you find the area is, I'm going to select this square. If we take this and we make it a line, right like this, I'm going to leave this open a little bit so I can grab this and bring it out. This centimeter here on this side is this is 1 centimeter, okay? Now if I click on this and I drag this out, this is a 2D object, okay? So this 2D object right here, this shape, all right? I'm taking the 2D away. I'm bringing this object back here. This is 1 centimeter, but the cool thing is, if we drag this out all the way to a square and we fill this square, it is the area. So this is the area, and that area is also 1 centimeter. So now we have 1 centimeter and 1 centimeter, and it's 1 centimeter this way, and that area, that fill. So it's almost like you're taking a paintbrush, and if you were to drag the paintbrush across to make the square, that trail of paint, this area, this fill is exactly that. It is the area. So now what we have done is we have found this 2D object. This is the area of the 2D object, and we have the perimeter now and the area. So I want you to take one look at that for right now. Talking about this square, now we know that this is the perimeter, the outside, and the inside area is the area. So we have 1 centimeter on the left-hand side right there, and when we fill this in, say we were to paint it and leave a trail, that trail would be the area, the inside fill would be the area. So you have 1 centimeter on this side and 1 centimeter on this side, which means that this side is the area. We're talking about the area below. That's the distance moved in 1 centimeter. So as you can see, me moving my square, that's what we mean by the distance moved. So what happens if you change this to something else, to 1 meter, and you change this to 1 meter? These are all measurements, and graphic designers use measurements all the time. Well, then the distance moved would be the same thing down here. It would still be a meter. So it would be 1 centimeter, like so. So then if I'm dealing in meters, it's the perimeter is 1 meter, and the distance moved, the area is 1 meter. So this whole inside area. So the distance moved is a meter. So every time you change this to a different measurement, say this is inches, a graphic designer, if I change this into inches and I was talking about the square, or say I was a designer and I'm dealing with a shape, okay, and I want to know how big I want to put rugs down on my floor, and I want to know what the distance is and how much rug do I need to lay down. So as a designer and I'm dealing with inches is a lot to deal with, but we're just using that as an example. I would most likely be dealing in feet, so that would be an F, but doesn't matter. The point is, whatever the measurement is, for this square. If it's 1 inch, the perimeter is 1 inch. And then the area that I fill, I only have this much rug. And when I go over the area, it is also 1 inch. I need 1 inch by 1 inch rug. So the distance moved is still 1 inch. So I wanted to show you guys that because that is how we determine how much we need to lay down and for a particular element if you're designing your home or something like that. And I also wanted to show you because my daughter as a 4th grader is now dealing with measurements, and I wanted to show you that in a shape, okay? So we're gonna get a little bit more involved. I know you understand this as the perimeter and the area. So every time you hear that, now you'll know what we're talking about within a shape and how it pertains to distance and move to make that area. And measurements, they could be different measurements, but it's all the same in perimeter and area. Okay, so we're gonna move on. All right, everybody. So here's the cool part. How do you calculate the area? Well, you do it. I have all these little play people. I'm going to call them my characters. I'm going to bring them out on my board. So I have 1 inch here, 1 inch here. What is this 1 inch? This is the width. And then over here, I have an L for the length. So how we calculate our area is the area equals the length times width. So if we times 1 inch and 1 inch, we are going to, and here's 1 inch, so the area equals 1 inch times 1 inch because that's the width and the length. We are going to get, and that 2 is very important, the area is 1 inch squared because this is a square, it's 1 inch. So that's how we calculate our area. And if I was to put a rug in and I wanted to know how many inches or what my area was, that's how I could calculate that by the width and the length. So just like that's a little tidbit for you for math. And I thought that would be cool just dealing with our shapes. So we're going to go on and we're going to do our second art piece. So here we go. All right, so our second artwork, and your third's just going to be a combination of the two, whatever you want to use. Our second artwork is going to be based on Pete Mondrian. So our area of our square is going to be a primary color, and I'm going to use red, blues, yellows, okay? And I'm going to take this, and Pete Mondrian uses his perimeter of his shapes are a black outline. So that's why I put this outline on black. You can change the width of your outline. And you'll see that if I click on this, here it is, the line width. Okay, so I can make it thicker, smaller. I'm gonna leave it like mid-range. Okay. So here's my square. I'm going to bring it onto my canvas. Now I'm going to make another square. I'm going to click on this square. I'm going to change this to red. There's a nice bright red. I love it. Okay, I'm going to deliver that square on the canvas, and I can move that square around. And I can continue to make my Pete Mondrian artwork like so. There I am. And I can connect my squares. So I'm going to do this very quickly now. I'm going to stop here so that I can fast forward so you can see how my artwork turns out. And so I'm going to stop there, and now we're going to go fast forward.